Spawnable is the premier podcast spotlighting people of color. Every week, we talk news, what we've been playing, and tell you who's invited to the cookout. Our show is all about talking about gaming through a prism of blackness, because we are the culture. Welcome to Chicago, y'all.
Yo, what up, everybody here in Chicago? Welcome to the Spawnable Podcast. This is episode 544 of the Spawnable Podcast with Khalif Adams. I am your host, Khalif Adams. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're having a fantastic time. I hope you're having a good start to your week. It is now Hump Day, Wednesday, the 9th of April, 2025. We have been doing this show for 11 years now. It is nuts to still be rocking here in Chicago with all of you magical, mystical family out in the world. Excited to be here. Excited to be rocking with you all. If you missed last week's show, you missed a banger of an episode. Please go back and check out all of the work that is on our YouTube page, on our TikTok, on our all of the podcast platforms that we reside, Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Please leave us a 5-star review if you can. There are already so many over there. I need to check how many. I think we're in the at least 300 reviews over on that side of the fence. And go check us out if you want more video versions of the show. You can check us out in video format on Spotify and on YouTube. We've been getting some good love on YouTube. It looks like it's moving in a positive direction. So continuing to figure out good ways to make that happen in those ways, with things kind of rolling in multiple directions. So it has been an okay week. It has been a very busy week. You might not have seen of late, but if you might have seen, if you are checking out my work or checking out me on LinkedIn, I talked a little bit about next month or the end of this month, my contract being over with the current job that I'm at. So I'm looking for more employment. If you know some folks who are looking for an amazing community and social media manager, go check me out and check out all that stuff. You can find out all of that information on my Twitter page and all the other places that you can go to go find that out. I think KhalifAdams.com should have information and ways to contact me for all of that goodness there. So that's one thing. Another thing is Summer Games Fest is coming up very soon. And we'll be out there rocking with the best as always, checking out the work that's happening there and getting it in with all of our friends and fam, covering some of the best games on the planet. So make sure you are checking us out for Summer Games Fest as well. Lots of goodies to talk about this week. I don't know if the information is good, but I think the way things have been moving has been good and in an interesting space. So I think let's get into it this week with the 411. First up on the 411 is all about the U.S. President Donald J. Trump botching everything that he touches, every which way, every possible way you could screw something up. This man is trying to do it. He is botching it every way that you possibly can. And, you know, the section that is here, if you're watching us in video form, I labeled this one, Trump loves tank controls, because he is tanking the U.S. economy in ways that have been unforeseen and probably reminiscent of his first term in 2020. And so, you know, we are now in Trump 2 messing it up boogaloo in big ways. He has imposed tariffs that are far and wide as of today. You know, a couple of days ago, and this is the problematic part about all of this stuff. Besides the economic anxiety that is being put into the space, besides the economic instability that is happening through these unreasonable and unfounded self-owns that he is perpetuating through these tariffs that he's putting across the world, which almost 2 days ago were all-encompassing across the world tariffs. We're going to tariff everyone up to a number and a percentage that is going to give us the advantage to find a way to bring manufacturing back and to bring all of those things back to America. We have already seen contrition and walkbacks and failures and all of it already. We've already seen the problematic positioning as of today be paused for 90 days across the world, except for China, which he has imposed 120 something plus percentage tariff on. And we're already seeing the walk back happen. The funny thing about all of this is his MO. This has been the thing that Trump has continued to do multiple times throughout his presidencies. It is so much so that we already are calling it before we get a chance to see the administration maneuver and move on it. We've seen this failure happen before, but the problem winds up being that for you at home who are a part of this American, if you are listening to us in America, a part of this ecosystem and this economy, you are going to feel all of it. All the stuff, no matter who you voted for, no matter, you know, what was your political alignment in this thing, we are all going to feel the repercussions for the inefficiencies that we wind up seeing and to be fair, ignorance that comes from the White House with the work that has been happening in our economy. We've already seen multiple companies try to figure out new ways to circumvent or at least to bolster their own work in, you know, how they're going to battle some of this stuff. And we're already seeing companies now raising prices on certain things. You know, we're going to talk a little bit about the Switch 2 pricing, but every company that we've seen so far that has major exports, we've seen Razer back up and no longer say that they're going to deliver laptops to the US while these tariffs are happening. We just saw PlayStation Plus announced and Sony announced that in Latin American countries, PS Plus is going to go up in price. We are probably going to see Microsoft go up in price on Game Pass to help, you know, regulate some of that stuff. We will probably see something there. And all of this is just going to be a problematic thing for you. If you're a lover of video games, if you are a lover of technology, and we haven't even gotten into all the other things that he's proposed, you are going to have to spend an exorbitant amount of money to enjoy your hobby and to enjoy the thing that you usually go to de-stress you. The thing that is wild about all of this is that when you start to poke at people's levers for entertainment and things that you wind up needing to push on or don't need to push on, because none of these things needed to happen, you then cause animus towards your cause in a lot of different ways. And again, it makes no sense to put these tariffs, these retaliatory, tariffs on so many of these countries that don't even have people on them. He tariffed a space that had nothing but penguins in it over the past 72 hours. And to be fair, there have been tons of folks in the space who are game lovers and game fans who are also Trump voters who are championing this and saying that this is a good thing and that this is a good thing that has happened. And we continue to see this notion that I have been saying for many, many years, over the past 10 years of this show, that you cannot decouple politics from video games. And now we're in the F around and find out moment where all of those things are coming to pass in an actual way. And those folks are pretty quiet, besides still, championing the language that they see from the administration. They are not getting the benefits that they supposedly thought that they were going to wind up getting in this deal. It is not happening. It is not going to happen. It's not going to be a thing that is going to give them what wins they were expecting to get with this administration and all of the anti-DEI, anti-wokeness that's happening. The only thing that's going to be unwoke is your 401k your savings, your investments, your safety net that you've built for you and your family, the things that are going to be unwoker is going to be that. There's going to be all those pieces. Those parts are going to go away fast. So if you have not been saving, you have not found ways to financially support yourselves or find some stability in an already upside down economic space, it is going to be a real hard time for you in the next 4 years. I think some of this stuff will get pushed back on again. It always does. I think the folks who are in Trump's pocket and in Trump's ear are have seen $1 trillion come out of the investment market. We have the S&P and the financial markets at their worst levels that they've seen in a long time. And that being the case makes all of these things even worse. So we wind up seeing, this language wind up popping up, and it doesn't actually have a space to go to. It doesn't actually have a maneuverability. It doesn't have an actual space to land that is, if you look at it reasonably, going to benefit you in any form or fashion. So to connect that to the gaming space, the Switch 2, everybody was really excited for. Everyone got up at 6 a.m. Pacific time to go look at the Switch 2 announcement and was really excited for it. And then everybody saw the price and was really upset and really mad because they were like, oh, that was not expected. The company that usually comes in underpriced in comparison to the other two big companies, Sony and Microsoft, right now is pricing their newest system basically at their console prices, while also pulling back on some of the tech. You're getting a new Switch 2 that has older technology in it than the second iteration of the Switch. You're getting a LCD screen as opposed to an OLED screen. There are some really good changes in the way that the new hardware will be. I think it's more sturdy. I think the kickstand is better. There are different layers of things. But me and the wonderful folks over at the DLC podcast with Jeff Kanata and brother Spicer, we talked a lot about what this looks like on their show the other day, Christian Spicer, looking at all of those things, and had a really good discussion. And I would say, if you're looking for a much broader conversation, a really in-depth one, go check out my appearance on there. But I think for me, like I'll remember and mimic some of those sentiments. Yeah, like there are a lot of things that are not great about the Switch 2 from a technology standpoint. And I think Jeff talked a lot about them. Like the camera stuff is old and antiquated. And even the folks from Nintendo, when asked about it, said they did that specifically to offset some of the hardware benefits that are in the piece of hardware. But you're getting a crappier version of basically video conferencing because of it. And the price is basically going to be a $500 device. And that's not even determined yet because we still don't know what the full pricing is going to wind up being because of the incoming tariffs that happened, today. And we'll see where that winds up landing. There was a really interesting discussion that was happening, or that has happened over the past couple of days, when some folks from the press spoke to members of the brass over at Nintendo of America and got some quotes from them, because I think a lot of people, when they heard the pricing, they were like, oh, well, this is immediately a thing that we can tie to the Trump tariffs. Like, again, like a lot of these pieces of hardware are made in multiple places across the world. Nintendo specifically moved some of its operations, or at least its manufacturing, to Taiwan, and Taiwan also got hit with a big tariff. I think that has now been at least put on pause. It hasn't been removed. It's been put on pause for 90 days. to potentially help stabilize some of the markets. But that can be erased at the whim of a madman again. But it was really interesting to see what Trump talked about, or I'm sorry, not what Trump talked about, what Nintendo brass talked about when asked specifically about if the tariffs were, moving the needle in terms of the way that this piece of hardware is going to be priced. We haven't even talked about the software going up to $80 for cartridges. That's a whole nother conversation. But the folks over at NPR asked in an interview with Doug Bowser, they said some Nintendo fans assumed that the Nintendo Switch's $449 price tag accounts for global tariffs. But after President Trump's most recent announcements, could this number increase in the United States? Doug Bowser says, Nintendo president, he says, what I can share is the $449 price for the individual SKU and then the $499 for the hardware SKU plus Mario Kart World. Those were made based on previous tariffs, and there was no impact from the previous tariffs on those pricing. More on that pricing, I should say, much like every other company, I think the U.S. right now, we're in the process of actively assessing what the impact may be. We really have nothing further to announce in regards to pricing. So they said also, what impact do you expect the extra 24% additional tariff on Japanese exports? Now, that's still the same. That's 24. China has gone up to 124. To have on your business moving forward, not only for the Switch, but for everything that Nintendo America sells. Doug Bowser says, as I mentioned, we're just going to have to actively assess what the impact may be. Things may change in the days ahead. So we're just watching and trying to understand what the impact may be and what actions we may have to take afterward. So all of that to say, that conversation has changed a ton. And what that actually means is, so you now have all of these discussions happening. You now have all of these maneuvers changing place. And you now have some discussions here about what does that mean for the future of things moving forward. And what that winds up meaning is you now have to adjust for those things in a much bigger way, because you now have to deal with the ideas that go along with that. And what does that mean moving forward for a much bigger discussion around global tariffs, what Nintendo wants to do? And again, like what Nintendo's trying to do changes all the time now because of the fact that those discussions are now different. And if they were already thinking about changing their pricing and moving their pricing up, that changes the way that I think Nintendo kind of gets connected in those ways from a fan perspective. Like, I think folks in the fan space are going to be thinking about this and being like, I thought Nintendo were the folks who were going to be looking out for us in some ways. Like, I thought that they were going to be helping us to be able to figure out what this means and what does that look like in those grand schemes. Now that changes in a big way, because I don't know now if that price is going to go up. What does that mean for the price of those things going up? And if they do go up, what does that mean for the future of everybody else in the space? That definitely signals to Microsoft and to Sony to potentially move things up. We've already seen a fairly large price when it comes to the PlayStation Pro, but with more hardware moving into the space, conversations around games moving up to almost $100 in some circumstances, everything is going to go up. And that means that everything that's not made here is going to move and go up. And that means everything else that is in the ecosystem, from supply chain to everything else, is going to be changed in such a big way, because no one's going to stop moving the prices up at this point. That's going to be the thing that's wild, is all this does is signal to people to be like, all right, we got to move the prices up again. And you're not going to move those prices back down once they've set a new bar for what those prices are going to wind up being. So we're going to have to keep an eye on this in a real way, and see what happens. See what happens when, the next version of these tariffs move. Conversations around games being super expensive and now moving up again. All of these things are not good if you're a player of video games and you're a player and a person who loves technology. Everything is going to go up, and they're not going to go back down for a long time, especially with the way that Trump has been moving things and the way that he's been honestly talking about the space. And it's really this kind of bully move that he's been trying to do that honestly doesn't work. He's not as strong as people are relating him to be. It is not going to be a thing where people are going to figure that out and be like, oh, well, Mr. Trump, United States is going to just, kowtow to that. And our countries are not going to do that either. All it does is make our ability to do stuff even harder. So I don't know where that's going to go. It's not going to be very good. It's going to be a very bad thing to see, especially around Christmas time, especially around all those moments when you're looking to go buy that new thing and you're like, I can't afford it. One, because the job market is bad. Two, I don't have any discretionary income because now the country's going to go into recession, and I'm not going to spend any extra money in spaces that I don't need to. For what? That's not the way people spend money. People don't spend money that they don't have for cool stuff and fun stuff when you got to put food on the table. So it changes a lot of those discussions in a big way. We're going to take a quick break because I have a couple of quick things I have to run and go do super fast. And we're going to take a quick break, about 2 or 3 minutes. We're going to come back with the rest of the stories from the 411 and what we've been playing right after this. We'll be right back. Hey everybody, Khalif here from the Spawn on Me podcast. Hey, we have been in the market for new PCs for a long time, and for our 10th year anniversary, the wonderful folks from NZXT have partnered with us in a collab to be our hardware sponsors. So if you are looking for a new PC to stream or to game in the best way possible, go check out nzxt.co/spawnonmebld, and you'll be able to find a perfect PC for you, whether that be the Player 1 machine, Player 2 machine, or Player 3 machine. The ones that we're rocking for our new studio build. They have everything you possibly could need for the best PC experience on the planet. Remember to go check out nzxt.co/spawnonmebld, and they will get you set up right. Much love and peace.
Hey there, my name is Naomi, and you might know me from internet things like hosting for IGN. I'd like to introduce you to my new show, This Week in Gaming. It's 20 minutes, short and sweet, and every week I go through all the important gaming news that you need to know, and then we have folks on like Khalif Adams, who shows up quite often, talk about all the important news. And you get to listen to it wherever you get your podcast, so it's easy to find. Just look for This Week in Gaming and make sure to give it a follow. And every week, Monday at 9 p.m. Pacific time, you get a brand new episode. I hope you'll join me.
Welcome back to the Spawn on Me podcast. Thank you so much for hanging out during the break. A couple of quick other stories in the 411 for this week. Shout out to the folks over at Compulsion Games for South of Midnight. South of Midnight is getting fantastic reviews across the board. It is one of my favorite games of the year. Please go make sure you're checking out our dope review that we got a chance to do a little bit earlier in the month, or a little bit towards the end of last month. I've been having a blast with it. I think, again, like, it's dropping today if you're watching the show live. It is a fantastic noir, almost Grimm's Tale musical that is happening in the Deep South. I love the game. I think it's beautiful. I think it's stunning. I think the art is fantastic. The acting has been amazingly good and very, very fun. It is super cool, and I think it's a game that you should be putting on your radar and checking out if you have not done so already. I think that game is super good. Like, I think people who are fronting on that game need to stop fronting on that game. Huge shout out to the folks over on TikTok as well, who just hooked us up with some loveliness there. Limbo, thank you so much for the love over there. I think there's a lot of stuff to dig into, but I think if you really want to find out my take on all of South of Midnight, I think go check out the review. I have some stuff up on our TikTok and some other places. I think those sentiments still rock pretty hard. I've been playing it on PC mostly, and then played a little bit on console. And again, like, I think this game is just brilliant. We're gonna have a conversation with our friend Sam, our friend who's been rocking with us, pretty often, and hanging out with us, getting in some really good work there. So we're gonna have a conversation very, very soon with them. around what we're going to be doing. Sam DeLong, who's been doing some fantastic work in the space for a long time, we're going to have an actual like sit down conversation with him to talk through, his feelings about the game as well very, very soon. And there's one last thing I do want to add to the conversation around South of Midnight, because I've been seeing a lot of sentiments on my feeds about, what is this game, and this game continues to be woke, and again, it's all the same nonsensical ideas and thoughts from people who aren't paying attention to what this game is trying to do. And two things come back to me in this respect. I find it really interesting that whenever you talk about blackness, that's a big problem in gaming. I think that's interesting and continues to be a unreasonable discussion. And I think the other part that winds up kind of coming together through all of this is, when you are discussing this game and you're having conversations with it, the same discussions come up over and over and over again, and they don't really have a ton of merit. I think I am very tired of having discussions with people who don't understand things. I am very, very tired of trying to dismiss the idiocy that we wind up seeing around so many of these conversations. Because so many of the folks who are bringing up these things, if you look at the actual argument, it really comes back to this person's black, this person's female, this person is trans, this person is LGBTQ. It's all the same discussion. Oh, Sweet Baby Inc. made this game, so I'm not going to buy it. That means it's woke and it's woke slop and it's silly. Like, all of those discussions don't have merit. And I appreciate the fact that people continue to push back on it, because I think it's necessary to keep the space in a good spot. Like, a lot of these conversations for me happen on Twitter /X, because that's where most of my followers are. And it's where I get the most hatred about my opinions about diversity and inclusion and blackness and all those kinds of things. And I don't mind them, because at the end of the day, like, I understand that there are people who are haters, and that's going to be a part of the conversation. But I do think if we're going to keep it fair and we're going to keep the space honest, in the same ways that so many of those folks who have for months and months and months over the past almost a year and a half now have said Sweet Baby Inc. is a terrible place. There's a terrible consultancy firm. Everything they touch fails, and everything they touch is bad, and everything they touch is terrible. All of that kind of stuff. Shout out to Faded Furby for subbing to the channel. For all of those things, there are two games that those folks have had their hands on in the past couple of months that have gone out. South of Midnight, that is getting rave reviews from tons of folks in the video game space and lots of players, at least on my feed. And Assassin's Creed Shadows, which also went out and had a fair amount of really good press and a lot of good reviews and all that kind of stuff. So if we're going to say that they are the worst company in the world because of everything they do and because they talk about all these things and diversity and all this kind of stuff, you at least has to give them props for the two games that have come out most recently that have been fairly good and fairly reasonable and have shown that whatever additions that they brought to the table, because again, consultancy firms don't drive the narrative of a game. They don't drive the marketing of a game. They don't drive the game design of a game. Those are built into all of those places. And they add whatever they are looking to add from the needs of the companies that they work with. Those folks bring them in for very specific reasons to be able to connect to some of those discussions and add to the overall, narrative bits that they've been asked to do, whatever it may be. And I want to say, give them props. Like, if you're going to take all of this energy that has been in the space for all of this year, or all of last year, and try to dunk on that team for doing what they've doing. And again, I fully believe all of the stuff around Sweet Baby has been falsified. I think the arguments that have been raised against them have been false from the beginning. I still think that all of the stuff has been made off of bad intel and bad understandings and bad comprehension of what PINBALL has said in her GDC talk. We went over this in some episodes earlier on Spawn on Me. I think the way that people have been harassed from that team and the way that they've tried to safeguard themselves from that, I think all of those things have been well documented and have been shown to be made from bad actors who are the same trolls that we've seen across the world. So I would say if you're going to say that company is the worst of the worst, we have to also then say that they deserve some props for adding whatever they had to these two games that I think have been extremely good, have shown some interesting layers from conversations around blackness and black history. And they've done those and they've gotten pretty good reviews in the games that they've gotten to, at least in these two circumstances. I had a hiccup. So I'll say that if you're gonna say all the bad stuff, at least balance it out with some good stuff. People aren't going to do that. People aren't nuanced enough to be able to say that out loud. But that's honest. If we're going to, tamp people down and say that their work is bad, but also not give them props for the good work that they do, then that's unfair. And I believe in fairness and I believe in nuance on this show. So I'll say that for sure. Last bits of conversations around South of Midnight for now. Also, shout out to them for the amazing stuff that they sent over in their care package with all the goodies, is the records and all the other cool stuff that they sent over from the folks over at Compulsion. So massive love to them for all the work that they did. And shout out to Pika Chalita as well, their community manager, for surviving a amazingly rough year, and for sticking with it, and for Compulsion for supporting her, and for all the other community managers and folks out here who are on the front lines in the gaming industry having to deal with all these trolls, being undercompensated, and for folks who are probably not getting paid what they're worth for all the work that they do dealing with all the wildness that winds up happening in the internet. It is a thankless job. It is a job that is a actual occupational hazard. I think everyone who is a community manager and a social media manager needs to get raises, because this is the worst the internet has been. The internet is at its absolute worst right now. And especially in spaces that we all have to do work to help to promote the games that we're working on and help to promote the people that we want to promote in the video game space. Those people, if we're talking about having conversations about raises and union representation and all that kind of stuff, you should be putting them into those conversations immediately, because all of us have to go through it. And especially if you're a black and have any conversations or woman or from the LGBTQ space, especially if you're public facing, you are getting the brunt of all of it from all directions. And there are few people who are going to help you. And that part kind of sucks. But everyone who's paying attention understands the value that you have to the spaces that you bring. And I will say, as one of the people who's doing that work in my 9-to-5 time, I appreciate you. I think you're doing a fantastic job. Keep pushing forward, and hopefully the people who are around you are supporting you in those ways. Before we dip out of the South of Midnight conversation, Bryce Jackson over at YouTube says, just finished chapter 6. Games presentation is great, but that chapter broke me. No doubt. There's some real hard themes in that game, and I think that's the reason why I love it so much. Like, I think it's not shying away from human suffering in ways that a lot of games do, or at least they're doing it in a very humane way, which I think is really important. Last topic for the 411 is Marathon. Information is going to be dropping this weekend. A lot of influencers have been playing the game. They had an event very recently. I did not get invited. I am very sad that I did not get a chance to go up to Seattle. I'm not that far. Help your brother out. Let me know. I'm down to go play some Marathon. Check it out. But we're going to finally get some new information this weekend from the folks over at Bungie who are making this happen. We've seen a lot of influencer packs go out. We've seen a lot of ARG movement happen with the ARG that they put out, and people have been solving and going through. And all of those conversations are real and no joke. looking good and sounding good. It sounds like people are having a good time with it, or had a good time with it, at least from the vibe of the room. No one's been able to say anything because it's been under NDA. But I am very excited to see what the team has put together and what the future of this game looks like. I think a lot of people were worried about it. And from what it sounds like, there's some good vibes in the air about what this game is going to wind up being, and its madness. So I'm, new games coming to the space are always good. It's always good to be able to have new joints rolling through, and it's always fun to be able to see, teams do something different. And I think a lot of folks who are in the Destiny community have been waiting for this new title to drop, or at least some more information, and we're finally going to see what that is. And I hope it lands well. I think a lot of teams need wins right now. I think a lot of teams need, and a lot of us also want to see new things happen that are really exciting, that we want to go and check out and play and have hands on. So I'm hoping that folks in the industry hear this and invite me up to go play that thing too next time there's a space to go check out the game at some point. All right, let's get into what we've been playing to wrap up episode 544 of the Spawn Me podcast. Let's go check out some stuff I've been playing. First up, in what we've been playing this week, I am a huge fan of pinball. I've been a pinball fan since I was a small child, when arcades were a thing. Back in the day when I was thinner and had hair and actual buildings were there that you can go play video games and around other people. But during TDC, I got a chance to go check out a game that I was really excited for, which is Pinball Effects VR. You remember the folks from Zen Studios who are, for multiple generations of consoles and hardware, have been making these true to life digital replicas of some of my favorite pinball machines over the years. And they've now translated that into VR space. And I have to say, having played it for the past couple of weeks, man, this thing is cool. Like, I have cabinets that I remember from my childhood and from my youth that were really fun to go through and play. And I think they've done the painstaking work. When I was talking to the team, one of the things they talked about was the fact that these tables, these amazing pieces of art that are there, are scanned in. They go find these whole machines. They break them into their component parts. They scan them to get them into digital format, then put them back together digitally to replicate what these machines feel like, the way that the physics works, the ways that those machines would actually play in real life. It is one of the coolest things that I've ever seen. They've done this really cool other layer of it where, those machines have art that go along with it. You kind of base them around an IP or a character, and those things are in the space with you. So if you're playing a Star Trek table, you'll see the Enterprise around the table flying across it. If you're playing the Addams Family table, you'll see Cousin It and stuff around the table. And my favorite one was the Knight Rider table, which the car kind of drives around you. It goes into the back of the truck. It does all this cool stuff. What's also really dope is that besides the fact that you have this kind of virtual world that is in basically an arcade that has other arcade games in it, you can play pool. You can play darts. You can play what's some of the other angles and stuff that they have in there? They had darts in there. I think they had the kind of guess, the spin the roulette wheel kind of thing to get a prize kind of stuff. What's cool about it is, besides all those things, you can decorate the walls, and the more high scores you get, you can move things around and change the way that the arcade layer is. But it also has a mixed reality version where you can be in your actual room. You hit a button on the Quest or whichever HMD you have that shows you the space around you, and you can physically move the tables around in a space. and like you're like, oh, I want my coffee table's here, but I want the table to be on the other side of it. You can do that, rotate the table around. You have all these different angles on the table. They have some really fun campaign modes where you kind of build out and decorate the room. It's super dope. Like, and it's cool because like the closer you get to the table, then the sounds change. It gets more robust, all that kind of stuff. I am so hyped for this thing. What I love about what Zen Studios does as well is that they price tables really, really smartly. Like, you can get a bundle of tables. There's only a couple in there right now, but when I had a conversation with them, they were talking about building that out, and they've already had, like, if you play the normal version, the non-VR version, they already have like tens of tables, like a multitude of tables at this point, stuff that they've made, and then games that are tables that we've known from the pinball world, a lot of Williams tables, a lot of those kinds of things. But it's super fun. Like, it's not expensive, which is the best part of what this package is you never feel like you're being robbed when you're going to buy new tables. The things that's cool is like all those new VR tables will then be, go along with your account. So if you're moving from one device to another, you'll still have the tables under that in the VR space. It does not translate from the offline console versions to the VR game. So you will have to rebuy tables there, but the pricing is really, really competitive and cheap. Like, it doesn't feel like you're going to spend $10 a table for those things. You'll probably get like $10 for 3 tables or something like that, if I'm not mistaken. So I love the folks from Zen Pinball, from Zen Studios. I've been a big fan of their work for a long, long time. I've been digging their stuff for a while, and getting a chance to now have this in a VR format is even cooler. One of the things that I did tell them was one of the hard things to kind of figure out is like, if you're standing for a long period of time, you're looking down a lot, and that can be really taxing on your neck. But they've also even figured out ways you can play the game sitting down, and they figured out ways to have in the settings ways you can angle the table so that you can be in a position that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to kind of lean down all the time to be able to see stuff. Really smart stuff. I'm so excited for this. Like, I'm playing on a 3S. Shout out to the friends over from Balls to the Wall for hooking me up with a 3S. I really do. It really does make me want a Quest 3. Because the visuals, although they are very smooth already, I got a chance to demo it on a 3, and just the visuals just look really, really good. And the processing speed on the S is a little bit slower than it is on the 3. But all in all, having a blast with it and getting a chance to check that stuff out, it is really, really dope. I'm playing a couple things that I can't talk about yet that are still in the mix. So we'll have more conversations about those very, very soon. I'm getting some time with Fatal Fury right now. Also going to be checking out, I think, Indiana Jones on PS5, and I think also Horizon as well. I think those are going to be coming up really soon, so I'll give some thoughts about how they play over on the other platform. But there are 2 games that I did want to talk about before I dip out, because I think that they are fun, and I did get a chance to play them, but just didn't get a chance to talk about them of late. So one is Clawpunk, and Clawpunk is this kind of 2D action game that's like, it feels a little bit like Celeste, but you are featured as one of 9 cats, and your objective is to kind of clear out these stages and get to the end, which has a gate at the end, and it's super fun. It's like all these modifiers and cards are in the space where you get a chance to maneuver through the game, and it's like an action game, it's a platformer, it's all of those things all in one. And the game is really fun because you can be really aggressive, or you can kind of just like maneuver your way down through the map to get to the end so that you can get to, the part of that mission as fast as you possibly can. It is wildly fun. I had a small amount of time with it, but I definitely want to play more of it. I definitely want to get a code for it and check it out, and you should definitely try to wishlist it. I had a ton of fun with it, and it's like thrives on you being in a chaotic space. Like, you have a gun, you have melee combat, you have some modifiers that move things around, And the cats play very, very differently. So they all have kind of their own traits that you would kind of go into each match with. The cool thing is, like, once you build up a roster of cats, if you die in one of the runs, you can then switch to a different cat to kind of get through. And then when you're finished with if all of your roster of cats dies in a run, then you wind up losing on that in that particular space. But if you are looking for a game that's like a number cruncher kind of, get the highest score kind of game, like, that thing is dope. I had a blast playing it. I want to play more of it for sure. The other game that I got a chance to check out was Pathfinder Abomination Vaults, which was really cool. It's like in the Pathfinder world, which I am not very familiar with. So, like, if you already have an affinity for the world of Pathfinder, you're already in its wheelhouse from the lore parts of the story and the lore parts of the game. But it's this kind of top-down isometric game that felt really fun to play because you're balancing out not only story, but you're balancing out this really cool, like, cooperative combat where you are taking and swapping between multiple characters in your 4-person crew that are based on, members of the Pathfinder world. And each one of them has their own traits, their own kind of ability to use certain weapons, their abilities to have certain kinds of magic and other abilities and features. But what I really liked was the fact that this game is digging into the lore and really paying attention to all of the layers that go alongside that. So, like, when you're paying attention to and using a character, your choices in the way you kind of talk through and have dialogue have repercussions for the way that other characters will, engage with you and how they'll kind of play around with you and all of those things. So it winds up being something where you have to really pay attention to, how are you connecting with those characters? How are you actually, moving around, and how are you having discussions with other characters, and not only them, but other NPCs in the world, to figure into that stuff. The vaults it's a vault game where you're kind of going down levels to get to the boss levels, and each one of those has distinct biomes, has, like, different chapters in the game in a lot of different ways. It's a lot of fun, like, being able to switch between the characters, dealing with some of the combos and all of that stuff. Like, it just feels really interesting to have a game like this in the space that is not necessarily what you would get from something like Diablo, but feels, akin to some of those things with more lore, more discussions, and more co-op play, which is I think is the main driver for this. Is like the co-op parts of this really do make it feel extra special in the way that you're kind of playing this game. And I'm hyped for it. I want to play more. Like, I think, when you're playing games like these, in these ways, you want to kind of play around in the spaces themselves and dig around and find out really good ways to be able to engage with it, and finding good avenues for fun. And, I need more time with it because I think, I got a chance to play the demos hands off. But now, getting a chance to check out what I've gotten to see, I want to play around in that space more. I want to explore and see what it's like to kind of go down the levels and potentially get to the boss and fight those things and do that. We'll have more information about this game. It's very kind of, top level stuff that we got a chance to check out during the time with it. But a lot of that is going to be fun. If you're also been checking out some of the work we've been doing, I've been checking out the Steel Hunters Alpha. Go check that out as well. Steel Hunters Alpha has been really, really cool. I also got a chance to play Wu Chang. I forgot the full name of Wu Chang. What is it? It is Wu Chang Fallen Feathers. I got a chance to play that as well. That game is going to be a banger. If you are a big fan of Bloodborne, that game feels a lot like Bloodborne. It's hard, of course, but from a combat perspective, from the way that the world is built, from the way that you path through it, like, that game felt really, really dope. I think I have some footage that I'll be putting up somewhere. But if you have not gotten a chance to check that out, if you were excited for that game, you should definitely be checking that out as well. Shout out to Otaku Man 5000 in the chat, who says what's up as well. So yeah, we have a lot of stuff to dig in through. I am very busy when it comes to games that I'm playing and stuff that I can talk about and stuff that I can't talk about. But there are some really fun titles in there that I know all of you have been waiting for and been excited to go check out. And we'll have more information about those because their embargoes are probably coming up fairly soon. So we got that stuff. I got more goodies coming in the way. Some more swag stuff that came through. The folks over at Bethesda sent over one of those big dope Doom helmets. So I'll put that up on social as well. The folks over at Vicstrix sent over one of their new fight pads. One of the new fight sticks, so we'll be talking about that too on an upcoming episode of Spawn on Me. So lots of stuff happening for all of us here in Chicago, and it's been, again, very, very busy. So so make sure you're checking out all of our stuff across all of the avenues that we have game conversations for us. Again, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, TikTok, all of those things. Going to be putting out some more content in those spaces soon, and we'll potentially have some more conversations, some more announcements for things that are happening before Summer Games Fest as well. So massive love to everybody for coming through and for hanging out this week and every week on the Spawn on Me podcast. For folks who just got here rolling through, hello. Sorry, we're about to end the show. But again, thank you so much for being here this week and every week for the Spawn on Me podcast. So much love to you all. We're all going to get up out of here for now. This show will be up in about an hour on the feeds, so make sure you go check that out, share it, and give it some love in those spaces. Again, put up a review and all of those good things for all the things that we have coming up very, very soon. Much love to you all. Hope you're having a good rest of your week. Please stay safe. Please put two-factor authentication on all of your stuff. Please go talk to your financial advisor about the incoming madness out here. And more information about all those things coming soon here at Spawn on Me. Much love to you all. Have a wonderful rest of your day. We'll speak to you soon, and peace.